and they arrested the woman, leaving the child stranded on the pavement. That sight will always be with me. Just didn't go to the toilet. There was no toilets. You just pinch until you get home.
I've talked to some people who are pro-apartheid. They talk about how much order South Africa was in back then. Yeah, Unbuckled Discussions. Unbuckled Discussions. This is Unbuckled Discussions. Unbuckled Discussions. Unbuckled Discussions. Unbuckled Discussions. Welcome to Unbuckled Discussions. In this episode, we talked to Dr Ish Larney mainly about his childhood growing up as a non-white South African in apartheid South Africa. In the next episode, we cover more about his career in dental prosthetics and life in Australia. If you'd like to check out the full episode, it's available as a podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. How's it, Ish?
That's all good. Yeah.
So, welcome to Unbuckled Discussions. But, so who am I speaking to? What's your name?
Ismail Larney. Born in Cape Town, South Africa.
Yeah.
And born of a group called the Camisa, or labeled in the apartheid era as colored.
Oh, Camisa? Really? I didn't know that was the...
Camisa means coming from the water. C-A-M-I-S-S-A, Camisa.
Is it an Afrikaans word?
No, it's a term chosen by South Africans to remove the word colored, because that means nothing apart from a derogatory label.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it was meant to replace the word colored with something that isn't derogatory.
That's correct.
Camisa.
And that's for the people who came via the ocean from Indonesia, Malaysia.
Oh, okay.
Most of them as slaves.
But is the coloured term still derogatory in modern day South Africa, do you believe? Because it gets used a lot more, I don't know, like freely.
Yes, there's a movement to remove it, but the government still use it, and they use it for their statistics, their reasons, but there is a definite movement to remove it entirely.
Oh, okay.
It's not here nor there. But there's actually a Camisa museum opening up soon in Cape Town.
Oh, okay. Sure. I had no idea about that.
My forebears. So my forebears would have been slaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, actually. Yeah. The slaves from Malaysia and Indonesia.
Yeah.
Does that make up majority of Camisa people? Because also Camisa people are also some are more Indian, some are more native African, some are white.
Right. Yes.
So, like, Camisa coloured is a good mixture, right?
Yes. Yeah, because they coloured has, I think this, but more than 10, probably up to 20 categories of colours.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like there's some that are pretty much look like tan white people, and some that look like fair black people.
Yes.
It's like
yeah. I was on my ID document. I was Malay. Now, the Afrikaans word for Malay is Malayer. If you look at the spelling, it's M-A-L-E-I-E-R. Malayer.
Malayer.
Mad egg. And I always wanted it to be translated into English as mad egg. and it wasn't allowed.
So most of your background is Malaysian?
Yes, that's correct. My linguistic style is Malaysian, Indonesian.
Yeah.
That's how I grew up. And when I went to school, I couldn't speak proper English. Well, I couldn't speak English at all. And I couldn't speak proper Afrikaans.
Really?
So
your first language was
Cape Flats linguistic style.
Yeah. Okay. So a mixture of both Afrikaans and English?
And Malaysian words.
And Malaysian words as well.
Words, yes, as well.
I had no idea that Malaysian linguistics influenced South African coloured people. I thought it was just the genetics, I thought it was too far back.
Well, because our ancestors were slaves, they developed a secret language, which is a language that we were born with. We didn't know that it was designed by our ancestors. in order to have secrets from their bosses or their masters.
Yeah.
And when I came to Australia, Australia has a style to take the piss out of everything.
Yeah.
My heritage is that, so I gelled very easily, and I could take the mickey out of anything or anybody quite naturally.
Yeah.
So it was a perfect fit, if you may. But that taking the mickey is from my Cape Flats heritage.
Yeah.
You know,
And where did you when did you come to Australia?
we came in 1979, a long
1979.
time ago.
True. So take me back to Cape Town. Where in Cape Town are you from?
From a place called Bridgetown. So when I was born, we were homeless.
Yeah.
And for the first year, we lived on a room or up a kamer.
Yep.
That was everywhere, District 6 and Evans knows where. So we finally found a house 18 months later, a council house in an area called Bridgetown, which is close to Langa, which is close to the Cape Town airport.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very much in the bush there, very poor, and no income, no food, nothing. And so my mum went to the textile factories to get their cut off fabric.
They'd get a cut of fabric?
From the rubbish, the redundant cut off pieces of fabric that they waste. So waste fabric.
Yep.
And she would make children's clothing out of it, and that's how we survived.
Oh, she would sell the clothing?
Yes, she would sell
Oh.
them. Well, she sold it and we sold it. And so when I discovered myself, I was selling children's clothing.
Yep. And how old were you when you were doing that?
6, 7, 8.
Oh, true. I see.
Yeah.
Young. And how many brothers and sisters did you have at the time?
We are 6.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest, and I've always been the youngest, of course. It was,
Mhm.
my dad died in October, and I was born in November.
Oh, okay.
And when he died, we lost a very comfortable home and car and everything, and my mum was homeless.
But why did you lose it?
My dad was a gambler.
Oh, I
and
see.
He lost everything, and then in bad timing got a heart attack and died as well. And so my mum was just left with
To suffer the consequences of his gambling?
yes, and I was born a month later, and so I'm the shortest of the siblings, and I think I was malnourished for my first 2 years.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So
and
you think that affected your growth?
it
Ongoing?
affected my growth, but it also I think made my system very strong against infections and whatever.
Mhm.
So I can survive quite well.
Yeah, you could cope with anything from a young age.
Yes.
And so do you think that early experience selling clothes, doing it hard, homeless on the streets when you were
Yeah.
from a young age, do you think that set you up? Like, did you decide then that you want to do better in life? Or did you not think it was possible at the time? Or
It made me insecure, and so and made me question the system, and so I didn't think of it as better is not probably the appropriate word, because I don't understand better. Better is competition. When you're in survival mode, competition is removed. For you, it's just how can I find food? How can I find accommodation? And so there's no competition. It's
Yeah.
just a cyclical thing of I need to get through this door called matriculation. I need,
which for people outside of South Africa, that's your grade 12 or
Yes,
your
grade
OP.
12,
Yeah,
yes.
continue.
and then I need this thing called a degree
Mm-hmm.
to get a good salary. So we have to do that, and it's a matter of what are the boxes I need to tick in order to get security in life,
Yeah.
and that is from a basis of insecure.
And so from all that success that you've achieved since then, you think started with from a base of insecurity?
Yeah, still.
Yeah, true. What, do you feel like you're trying to? I don't know. You trying to like keep making yourself better in the eyes of society, or
No, not in society. If I were on an island all alone,
Yeah.
I'll be able to build a house for myself. And that's not to compete with society. It is, what do I need in order to withstand this rain or whatever,
Yeah.
and how do I get food? So my insecurity is based on how I viewed my mother and how she survived and how she struggled, and I want to make sure that I don't struggle like that.
Yeah.
So yes, I went to university, more to find a good job.
Mm-hmm.
And you just been to my house.
Yeah, beautiful house actually.
Oh, thank you. And
Built it 100% by yourself.
yeah, and I had to do it again and again and again and again. And I questioned. We got 5 houses, and I
You
questioned.
have 5 houses,
Yes,
and you built them all yourself.
I didn't build. That's the only one I built. The others I bought, built, and we renovated ourselves. We built the kitchens and so on.
All in Australia?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
and it's not so much that we need those. Can you see the insecurity I have?
Yeah, you're trying to do everything you can to make sure you don't get back to where you were when you started, right?
That's it. So we were
At a higher tier than
Yeah,
what
we-
black people were put at.
Yes. Our accommodation was better.
Yeah.
The black people were separated, and the black people had to have a pass.
Oh, you didn't have to have a dom pass?
No, I didn't have to have a dorm pass.
Okay.
I had an ID document,
Yeah.
and we still had to go to separate doors, and at the post office you have a separate door.
Did you still have to go to the non-white toilets?
No, there's normally no toilets for non-whites.
Oh,
I
true.
don't know what they do.
Oh, okay, true. So where would you go to the toilet in the public?
I have no idea. I can't remember where. We just didn't go to the toilet. There was no toilets. You just pinch until you get home.
Oh, I see. And what exactly you mentioned before this? Black people had to have a pass. What pass did black people have to have?
Black people had to have permission to be in a geographic location at all times.
Yeah.
So if they were caught in a certain area, they needed permission from an employer to be in that area. Or else they were prison. I remember in early 1970s seeing a police car stop to interview a black woman who had a child. The child could have been about 4, maybe 5. And they arrested the woman, leaving the child stranded on the pavement. That sight will always be with me. And the poor kid was like wondering what next, and the woman was put in the back of the police car and driven away.
Because she was out of her geographical area without
Yes.
a pass.
Yes, that's correct. So me and my siblings went to university, and they went to university. And so because we had aspirations to be outside our chosen professional areas, not even profession, I think career, whatever you call it, we were labeled as communists. And so that opened up an entirely new box of police investigations, police harassment, etc. Because how dare you want to be something different than you were.
Than what you've been allocated.
Yes.
Yeah. So, was it, like, I've talked to some people who are pro-apartheid. Well, not
Yes.
necessarily pro, but they talk about how much,
How good it was.
how good it was,
Yeah.
and how much order South Africa was in back then.
Yeah.
And then they compare it to South Africa's modern day, quite corrupt government.
Yes.
And they say, look how much chaos is now, and this is why. And this is other people telling me.
Yeah.
They tell me that this is why black people shouldn't be controlling the country,
Yes.
because they don't know how to, and it's chaotic.
Yes.
Right? Do you think, relating to that question, do you think that South Africa was in more order back then?
It was, but then the population was 20 million. Now it's
Yeah.
67 million.
Yeah, exactly.
And-
That's including so many illegal immigrants as well,
Yes. And so the dynamics is totally different.
Yeah.
And not only was the population 20 million, really only the small white population of 2, maybe 3 million mattered. So of course there's going to be order. But, it was easier to control a country where most of the white population worked for the government anyway. um, and the rest of South Africa were the laborers.
Yeah, I get you. And also, I don't know, I could be wrong, but do you feel like that? I mean, if your education system was a system designed to cull people, right, and
Yes.
encourage you not to get educated, what was the education for black people like?
Oh, it hardly existed.
So
Yes.
that's what like I feel like that education system, now that it's equal rights and everybody's got the
Yes.
ability to work, and also a lot of the people in power grew up in that generation who are of black skin color, they didn't receive the education like that's going to equip them to be good leaders, I don't think. I
But
don't know
definitely, definitely. I mean, that is reality, and we don't have many international statespeople being leaders. There's a whole series of underqualified people, and also there's this whole trend in South Africa of misrepresenting one's qualifications.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I think the photocopy machines work overtime there.
Yeah,
Unbuckled Discussions.
Unbuckled Discussions.
This is Unbuckled Discussions.
Unbuckled Discussions. Unbuckled Discussions.
Unbuckled Discussions.
Welcome to Unbuckled Discussions.